In 2026, Congress voted 268 to 164 to let your car decide whether you're allowed to drive. Not a cop, not a judge. An algorithm buried in the car you paid $50,000 for. Section 24,220 of the Infrastructure Act spells out the new ground rules. Advanced drunk and impaired driving prevention technology must be standard equipment in all new passenger motor vehicles. The technology shall passively monitor the performance of a driver, and yet if impairment is detected, the technology must be able to prevent or limit motor vehicle operation. That's the law, written in permanent ink. It doesn't spell out how the system works or what counts as impairment. It doesn't say who decides when you can drive. It leaves the details to federal regulators and the manufacturers who build the hardware. The only thing that's clear is the outcome. If the system thinks you're impaired, your car can refuse to start, slow you down, or even shut you out entirely. Congress gave the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration 3 years to turn that language into a binding safety standard. The deadline was November 2024. NHTSA missed it. There's no final rule, no published test procedure, no official launch date. But the statute itself never expired. They didn't repeal it. They just ran out the clock. The obligation to regulate is still in force. The door isn't closed, it's just ajar, waiting for the next round of rulemaking. In 2026, when Representative Thomas Massie tried to kill the mandate outright, the House voted 268 to 164 to keep it alive. Massie's amendment would have blocked any funds for enforcement or development. 57 Republicans crossed the aisle to vote against him. This wasn't a party-line standoff. It was a bipartisan decision to keep the system on the books, even after the deadline passed. The text of Section 24,220 remains untouched in federal law, and the only thing missing is the final regulatory playbook. The mandate sits in the background, waiting for a signature and a timeline. That's not a hypothetical. That's the legal reality. The hardware to enforce outside control is already bolted into the dashboard. In September 2012, Tesla pushed the first over-the-air software update to the Model S. No dealer, no warning. Just a new firmware package loaded through the car's built-in cellular modem. That was the moment the car stopped being a closed machine. Every major automaker followed. By 2014, General Motors had wired OnStar into its fleet with a remote stop feature for $7 a month. A command from the call center could cut the starter circuit, immobilizing the vehicle. The OnStar engineer who demoed the system at launch called it a theft deterrent. But the same circuit can be triggered for any reason: missed payment, software recall, or a glitch in the cloud. The control isn't theoretical. It's in the wiring diagram. By 2015, BMW's Connected Drive portal let drivers unlock heated seats for $1,200. Hardware already installed, waiting behind a paywall. The BMW product chief called it feature on demand. The seat is there, the wires are live, but the software decides if you get heat or just a cold warning on the screen. Across the industry, the shift was clear. Subscription economics for features you already own. The subscription model didn't start with Netflix. It started with car companies realizing you'll pay for what you already own. Every OTA platform, Tesla, GM, Ford, Toyota, BMW, relies on the same physical stack: a cellular modem, a telematics control unit, and a gateway that can relay commands to the engine, the brakes, the locks. The hardware is standard, the control is remote, and the line between ownership and access is already erased at the circuit board. The law doesn't need to invent a kill switch. The kill switch is already there, waiting for a signal. Every system sold as a safety net comes with a hidden switch. The line between protecting drivers and controlling them blurs fast. What starts as a tool to block drunk driving turns into a backdoor for anyone with the right credentials or the wrong intent. In 2022 alone, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration logged 12,437 complaints about cars disabled remotely. Of those, 4,219 were confirmed as subscription-linked shutdowns, drivers locked out not for safety, but because the software said so. That's not a theory. That's a stack of service tickets and angry phone calls. The numbers don't stop there. Security researchers proved how brittle this system really is. In a proof-of-concept demo, a single exploit sent a remote brick command to a fleet of late-model sedans, leaving them dead in the driveway. No keys, no override, just a spinning icon on the dash and a bill for a feature you already paid for. The hacker didn't need a crowbar. They needed a laptop and a leaked API token. The industry calls it convenience. The manual calls it forced immobilization. The driver calls it theft. Every time a feature gets locked behind a paywall, the attack surface grows. Every time a telematics unit checks in with the cloud, it's another chance for a glitch, a hack, or a policy update to cut you off from your own machine. The mission creeps, from stopping drunk drivers to enforcing payments, to remote recalls, to whatever comes next. The threat isn't just loss of privacy, it's the loss of control over your car, your movement, your autonomy. The hardware's already there. The software decides if you get to use it. There's still a way out, if you know where the line is. For most buyers, that line lands somewhere between 2006 and 2017, the window when cars were still machines first, not rolling computers with monthly bills. The shift isn't subtle. In 2006, a typical pickup or compact SUV ran with just a handful of control modules, most of them handling basics like fuel injection or anti-lock brakes. By 2017, the average mainstream car packed over 50 separate ECUs, with at least one always connected to the outside world. That's when the price of ownership changed from a one-time payment to an open tab. Every model has its own threshold. Take the Toyota Tacoma. Stick with the 2005 to 2015 range, and you're looking at a truck that's all analog switches and cable-driven throttles. No factory touchscreen, no modem, no remote shutdown code hiding in the wiring. Used prices are holding steady between $12,000 and $18,000, depending on mileage and rust. Step into 2016 or newer, and you're buying into Entune, a system that opens the door to over-the-air updates and subscription prompts, whether you want them or not. Same story with the Honda CR-V. The 2007 to 2011 models keep it simple. No Honda Link, no App Store, no remote lockout. $14,000 to $20,000 gets you a reliable, fixable machine. But by 2012, the CR-V starts shipping with built-in telematics, and the number of electronic touchpoints doubles overnight. That's the real cutoff, when the car starts checking in with someone else's server, not just your key. The trick is to watch for those thresholds, when the dashboard goes from dials to screens, when the owner's manual starts talking about cloud services instead of fuses. That's the difference between a car you own and a car you rent from the future. 3 more models still stand between drivers and the software leash. The Toyota Camry and Corolla, if you stick to the 2007 through 2014 range, are pure, mechanical workhorses. No factory modem, no remote lockout, no subscription pop-up blocking the climate controls. The Camry sits between $15,000 and $22,000. The Corolla a bit less, $13,000 to $18,000, depending on how much rust and how few owners. These cars run until the body gives out, not until a server says so. The Ford F-150 built from 2009 to 2014, is the last of the big pickups you can actually own. Before Sync 3 and its cloud hooks, these trucks used Bluetooth for calls and left the rest of the electronics alone. $20,000 to $30,000 gets you a truck that can tow, haul, and be fixed with hand tools. No dealer login required. No remote disable hiding in the fuse box. After 2015, every F-150 rolled out with a modem and a backdoor for over-the-air software. That's the cutoff. After that, it's someone else's truck, no matter whose name is on the title. The Lexus ES, if you find one from 2007 to 2018, delivers the same bulletproof reliability as the Camry, but with a quieter cabin and a few more gadgets, none of them tied to a subscription. $25,000 to $35,000 is the going rate for a clean, low-mileage example. In 2019, Lexus introduced its cloud-linked interface system. That's when the remote update train rolled in and the keys started to feel lighter in your pocket. Inventory for these models is shrinking fast. Used listings for pre-connectivity cars are down 27% in the last 2 years. Prices are up 12%, and the cleanest examples disappear in days, not weeks. Every month, another batch of old-school cars gets scrapped, exported, or snapped up by buyers who know what's coming. The window is closing. Once these are gone, there's no going back. Right now, the hardware is already in your driveway. They didn't repeal it. They just ran out the clock. The subscription model didn't start with Netflix. It started with your car keys. The next move is yours, but the window for real ownership is closing. Drop your thoughts below.